A girl in my class just said the reason everybody in the world isn't using solar energy is because it would shrink the sun and kill us all. Reddit. What's the stupidest thing you've heard someone say in class? Classmate, the sun does not shine on the moon. Trying to convince her that it was, and if it wouldn't you would not be able to see it, made her and others say I was dumb. This was in college. Well, that is a stupid thing to say. Everyone knows how people watch how the moon sits in the sky in the dark night shining with the light from the sun, and the sun doesn't give light to the moon, assuming the moon's going to owe it one. A girl in my college class tried to argue with me for laughing when she brought up chickens lactating. I thought she was joking. We were discussing the care of newborn chicks and she was concerned about where one might find chicken milk if the mother hen wasn't around. Her reasoning was that chickens have breasts and that no newborn chicken could survive without the nutrients from the milk. I asked her to Google it, but she insisted she had seen chicken milk and chickens nursing before, and that was all the proof she needed. Sounds like she was trying to milk a rooster. A girl in my class once asked why we can't go to Mars now, to which the professor responded there is no oxygen. She then asked why we couldn't just evolve to not breathe when we got there. Same girl asked what 100 million divided by 1 million was in the middle of an exam. This was in a science course at a pretty prestigious university. I wish this girl the best in the future. I remember a girl in my senior year of high school asked how do they drive cars to America from other countries if the ocean is in the way, and all my teacher could say was, does your brain cry itself to sleep? Yeah, that's dumb. Everyone knows they wait until winter when the water freezes. Kid said he's a germaphobe and that he doesn't have any germs. At all. None. We tried to explain it to him as a class, but after 10 minutes we gave up. Even the teacher. This happened to us in bio class. A girl said that since she can't see germs, they can't cause harm. BC no small particle can hurt us. Latin class. Teacher took out a dollar bill and showed us that it had 1776 written in Roman numerals. He asked the class, and what happened in 1776? Girl shouts out, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. The reason why craters on the moon are visible is because of Earth attraction. If one would go behind the moon he would enjoy a perfectly soft and craterless landscape. The near and far sides do look a bit different because of that tidal effects of gravity as the moon solidified, but it's the near side that has fewer craters and more mare. A girl in my class thought Syria was a city in Iraq. Also, one of my friends was convinced Shakespeare fought in Vietnam. I bite my thumb at the Charlie Nave of a Viet Cong. The other day I was arguing with someone about a matter and he said, indirectly, that if we open the hatch of the ISS, the pressure difference won't allow any of its contents to be flung out into the space. Just a second earlier, the person said that a fish tank has no pressure difference. I literally had to type a wall of text to make him understand that, after which, he dropped the ISS bomb on me. And he tells that he would be happy to explain physics to anyone. We had a girl in my freshman year of high school who was not very smart, and also rather gullible. Panji was an STD. Australia was connected to Japan. The world used to be in black and white. I used to believe the world was black and white. When I was 5 though. Slight difference lol. Had a person in a college history class try to convince everyone that slavery never happened. He tried to present facts about it. That was a really fun day. Math class in 8th grade. Dude, like, why are calculators so smart? Like, OMG. They literally know like everything. Like, how are they so smart? Great, now I'm wondering how calculators work and wondering if I'm dumb because of it. A girl in my class said that playing basketball makes you taller, and recommend that a short kid do this to get taller. I wish. That birds don't hatch from eggs but rather are born the mammal way. A physics teacher and a biology teacher as well as a Google infographic wasn't enough to change her mind. That guy on Fox News who said he can't see germs and doesn't believe that they exist, so he hasn't washed his hands in 10 years and has never been sick. In year 11, mandatory ethics class. Teacher, does anyone have any examples of moral dilemmas? Student, drugs. Teacher, can you be more specific? Student, what do you mean Pacific? This legit made me snort laugh. Biology at high school. Teacher asks about different types of animals, mammals, reptiles, etc. And this one guy raises his hand and responds vegetables. Either we had a similar experience or we went to the same school. My history teacher my junior year had us do some sort of assignment involving capital cities and states in the US. He told the class that there's a question that gets asked every year, and that he wouldn't divulge the question until someone asked it. Well, someone asked it. Excuse me, but where's Washington DC? As in Washington State? To be fair, it's pretty confusing that we ended up with so many places named Washington. Having confusing place names is a common problem in the US. We've got places like Florida, NY too. Basically, settlers often sucked at naming things. A classmate said that a certain famous person was bisexual instead of bisexual. He didn't know the difference or even the meaning. My physics teacher, 11th grade, told me a girl in his class wondered if when someone digs into the ground in Antarctica, they dig toward the sky. I suppose she's technically correct, but I can still hear the stripping gears go far enough in any direction that starts as reasonably down to you and you'll eventually hit sky. The mantle will collapse the tunnel and burn you alive first, but hey, science. While we were waiting for the SAT to start, a bunch of honors students started arguing whether Seattle was a state or a country. One girl was asked who the British general at the Battle of Bunker Hill was. She said that it was Stephen Hawking. That one was rough. I didn't hear this in a classroom, but I know someone who very seriously did not know that the space station was in space. I knew a girl who tried to convince me that Thomas Edison invented the light bulb because he was a lizardman who got cold at night. I wish ordinary light bulbs kept us warm. Not all us lizardmen can afford fancy heat bulbs, you know. My grandmother, well, if they didn't have enough foster homes, they just wouldn't remove the kids. So I think you being a foster parent is actually making everything worse. What? When do you have to take foster son back to South Africa? What? Why do they keep giving you black babies? Don't they have any white ones? And we're done here. Time to put Gam Gam in a home. We were learning about erosion. She raised her hand and asked about Mount Rushmore and how the river knew to create the faces. Then she couldn't understand why people were laughing. This was in a high school geology class about 30 years ago. I wish I could remember how the teacher responded. I still tell people this story 30 years later. I'm sure there are two suns, like how my parents in Europe can see the sun when I call them and have the sun here as well. It makes no sense. I'm sure it's not the same sun depending on which half of the earth you're in. Just remember, every time you look up at the moon, I, too, will be looking at a moon. Not the same moon, obviously. That's impossible. Had a girl, during her presentation, say that China was the largest country in terms of land area. I then proceeded to ask, what about Russia? She responded, nope, China is definitely bigger. This was freshman year of college. I said to a female friend in 9th grade that we humans couldn't go the sun because the heat would torn the ship apart, and she genuinely asked, what if they go at night? OMG, this is great. This girl said dead serious and proud, you guys wanna know something cool? When you speak you use your vocal cords. She was about 16/17. She also said Florida was a capital one day. Cords. Freshman year in my earth science class, my teacher asked a girl in my class to name two islands formed by glaciers and she responded with Rhode Island and Cape Cod. In 8th grade a kid asked my friend where north was on the map. After my friend answered that north was up, the kid then proceeded to ask where south was. So there was a girl in my 8th grade science class that literally thought we lived inside the earth. Like, past the sky there'd be a layer of crust. Man, I sometimes think back to it and hope I either misheard or she was joking. But I remember her playing it straight and it was occasionally brought up by other classmates for years after. She was also really bad at geography even in 11th grade. Like so bad. They're onto us. We had a girl in my high school senior American history class who loudly exclaimed during our Civil War lessons, I thought Abraham Lincoln was black. A fellow computer science student told me if I ran a game in a lower resolution, 4:3 stretched, than native it would kill my monitor, specifically pixels, he stated. In French, the word for bone sounds exactly the same as the word for water and waters. This kid in my high school class raised his hand during some class about pregnancy and asked which bone broke in every woman. It took about a minute for the rest of us to realize he'd either never seen it written or it hadn't been explained to him that waters broke, not bones. Our burning of fossil fuels is okay and normal because it fits into the cycle of carbon. Don't remember the arguments to support it. Some guy trying to mess with a science teacher, possibly just trolling. If we make extra CO2, there's extra tree food, thus there's more trees, which create more oxygen. Oxygen makes people high, so technically we should be polluting the crap out of everything so we can all get high. Either the guy who didn't know what year it was at age 12 or the girl who thought it was black and white in the past. Mexico's always been a mess. They just need to have a revolution already and get the whole thing over with. Dwayne from my community college Spanish class. Clearly he's never heard of the French Revolution. Not all revolutions fix things. Sometimes it ends with everyone losing their heads and then an emperor comes in and conquers half of Europe. Not in my class, but a friend told me about this one. Someone in his top set geography class said that if we send a bucket of water into space, we could solve global warming. Have they tested this theory? This kid is going places. A girl in my history class wondered aloud if Spain is in Mexico, and later she proposed that we all relocate to the moon to avert resource shortages. Seriously. The sun isn't useful since it comes out during the day when it's already light outside. The moon comes out at night when it's dark so you can see better. Not in class, but in college I was eating lunch with a classmate after our mutual class. At the dining hall they had some Pearl Harbor tribute on the TV. The girl I was eating with was transfixed. I was pretty surprised as she had never expressed any interest in history. Then she looked at me and said I thought that was just a movie. She thought that the very real event of the Pearl Harbor attack was actually just a fictional movie starring Ben Affleck. Had a girl in one class passionately talk about how we must vote for Trump. She completely disagreed with everything he said, but because he was an idiot she said he wouldn't be able to do anything. Look how that turned out : Guy in a philosophy class saying you can't prove gravity is real therefore God exists. His argument was a little more nuanced than that but not by much. Me. Something about time zones and crap. 24-year-old father. Wow, I wonder if you could just watch the lotto numbers, get in a plane and fly around the world, and then bet on the winning numbers. Me. I'm not sure that's how it works. Same guy. Married high school graduate. Yeah, true, someone would have done it by now. I mean his second statement doesn't explain why it doesn't work but his logic still makes sense. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.